come on. Okay, to get started, okay? Everybody's now on, and I'll love you.
Love you, and you'll, I think we can all sign out ourselves, can't we? Hopefully.
If you're still running, I'll shut you down. See ya.
It's
Bye.
just gone 5 p.m, so we will get started. Thank you, everybody, for attending this workshop on setting up a development squad. It's possible that I've launched this seminar a little soon because we're still getting those development squads set up, but we've got a lot of the infrastructure in place. So we'll be able to go through how the programs are envisaged to work, what you need to be signing up for and what you need to be mindful of. I know you're all coaches pretty much. Some of you will also, obviously you're all players, and some of you may be here from the point of view of a senior person in your club. So all those 3 layers are really important, and they've all got a different responsibility. So we'll go through that initially. Then we're fortunate to have Terry Abbott, who's been running a squad at in the Northern Metropolitan, north of Sydney, for how many years, Terry?
Well, I've only been coordinating it for 2 years. It was initiated by Peter Montague nearly a decade ago.
Okay, so that you've got a reasonable amount of experience to just share with us how that particular squad runs. That would be great.
Yes.
And then, as I say, we're hoping Ron Johnstone will ring in and talk to you by mobile phone. So we'll see if that works okay. So that's great. That's the 3rd agenda item. Then I've asked the selectors if they would be able to just give us some kind of input. And that's probably the area where, as we've just got the squad registrations together and we've passed them on to the selectors, they're still to go through that process. But Peter Montague has offered to speak broadly about from a selector's perspective. Unfortunately, Stephen Richards has had a family matter to attend to, and Alison Sharp is not available this evening. So we'll get some input from Peter. And then I wanted to discuss a little bit about coaching content for development squads and whether what was needed there and what people's expectations might be. And then I've just put in a general time for question and answers. If you have a question that comes up related to any of those during those items, if you want to raise your hand at that point so that we can get the person who's discussing it to respond, we'll do that. But if there are broader questions, let's leave them till that later time on the agenda. And then I wanted to just remind you about some of the other coaching developments that's coming up. And then a little bit about, where we've got to and what we might need to follow up as a result of this. Oh, hello, that'll be the phone. Hello, Ron and Roz.
Hi, Kate. I've just got you on speaker and Ron's got the phone. I'll sit next to him and listen.
Okay, can you guys hear Roz?
I can hear. I can hear.
Yeah, Rob's, yep, thank you. They can hear you as well. That's fabulous. All right, I've just gone through welcome and the agenda, and I'm going to now just talk a little bit about the background to the squads, Ron, so you'll just have to put up with hearing me babble on about that. Is there anything else people would like us to cover in this session that I haven't mentioned? And if you can't think of it now, that's okay. Please use that as a question later in the session, or put it down in the chat text box there if you can. Okay, so I did send you the letter of invitation that's gone out to, at this stage, it's gone to a select number of people and squads. And that's because we wanted to kind of do it step by step. So initially I've sent the letter out to existing squads or those that have already said, yeah, we want to set up a squad. and I've sent to other clubs that I think would be potentially would be the kind of clubs that would host a squad, and where there are perhaps a number of players at a senior level in their vicinity, or a number of up and coming players. So it's not, I haven't sent it out as a free for all because I don't think it's something for everybody, but I'm very happy for people to say, look, perhaps we should send it, more broadly. So the framework that's been set up in liaison with the selectors and the board, and the committee, the player pathway committee that's been set up, is where we've indicated that the idea is that we build a group of people at the stage prior to people being invited into a state squad. So at the state squad level, you generally have Division 1 players. You will often have people who've had experience at reasonably strong level of competition. They played in state championships, and they've come to the attention of the selectors through that means or through other means. So this is the stage before that, and it's to get people who are improvers, who are Division 1, probably high Division 2 players on the whole. Sometimes, we may go more broader than that, but that's for the selectors to determine. And the selection committee, it's really an initiative from the selection committee that we've followed up in association with developing our coaching resources, and part of what I'd like to see us grow, which is player pathways. So player pathways is probably in when we haven't developed that as other parts of this sport. So it's kind of at the level of the player pathway further down the track than we might in the end want to start. But I think there's people who really want to get into contention for state selection and who are wanting to really improve their competitiveness. So we have, where will we have these squads? I'd like to see them spread around the state. I don't anticipate having squads at neighbouring clubs.
You're fading a bit, Kate.
Oh, sorry, Ros. I don't expect to see squads at neighbouring clubs, but unless they are different codes, and you can have more than one squad in one club if you choose to. So you might want to have an AC and a GC squad. We're only applying this model to AC and GC at this point because they're the only codes that currently have a selection process and a pathway to national and international competition at an individual level. Gateball does have a pathway, but that's a team level, and that's a kind of a different way, and I'm really open to us looking at that in the future. But the current model is applying because it's come from the AC and GC selectors. So that's why we're working with those codes. So we've currently had registrations from 3 areas, from North Sydney, Terry Abbott's squad, South Sydney, which is Ron Johnstone's squad, and we've had an application from the Northern Rivers through David Scott, who in the past has run a squad and is looking to revitalise it under this new model. I'm also expecting interest from the Hunter, from ACT Riverina, from Canberra, potentially from the South Coast, and I'm hoping from the central part of the mid-north coast and the Coffs Coast area as well. Obviously, we're looking to give as many players as possible the opportunity to participate in a squad. So it's a bit of a combination of a critical number of players, a club that's put their hand up, and having a coach or a manager to be the one that runs that squad. So just a little bit about the coach manager. You don't have to be a coach to set up and manage a squad. It's helpful to do so, but we feel that it's an organisational job to some extent, getting people together, making sure they've got a field to practice on or several fields, making sure there's coaches as needed, organising competitions if that's what you need to do. So some clubs may choose to have a coach and a coordinator / manager. Some clubs may have one person doing all of that. Because the program is now formally funded by Croquet New South Wales, so all clubs which run a development squad will have lawn fees reimbursed. The coaches will be reimbursed as coaches normally are, which is pretty much for travel, if they need to travel. And players will also be able to access funds if they live more than kilometres from where they are going to their development squad activity. So they may live closer to the club they have the squad at, but the squad may travel somewhere for a competition or something of that nature. And so in that instance, they would be eligible for some funds. It's at half the standard rate of travel. So that makes it about 16.5 cents a K and to a maximum of $200. So you're not going to make a whole lot of money playing in a squad, but we acknowledge that some people really do have to travel to get to a squad, and that's what I'm hoping the funds will mostly be used for. Like all of these programs, we need to review. This is a model we've set up with the best information we've got, but we will need to review and see whether that's that rate of funding is achieving the goals, and depending on, I guess, what funds we've got access to. Mr. Peter Prew's turned up. So all of those participants in the squad, the clubs, the coach manager, and the players will be asked to sign an agreement, just so that everybody's clear about what are you signing up for, what will Croquet New South Wales do for you, what are you being asked of by Croquet New South Wales, and to make sure that people kind of take it seriously, particularly players. And I think most players do. I'm not saying players don't take it seriously, but just so people understand the expectations, and also so that we can keep a kind of a record, so that when we're getting your funding reimbursed, your money reimbursed, that we've got a track of who is an authorised member of a squad and are they eligible for the reimbursement. So that's one of a couple of reasons we've got an agreement. Is someone saying something? No, that's okay.
Can I talking about an agreement?
Yeah.
Does this agreement include a suggestion, a hope, or a commitment to playing in a New South Wales or Australian tournament?
It certainly won't include any commitment or expectation around that, Ros. It's more, yeah, because we can't guarantee who's going to get to do that. What we're asking people is that they will turn up. If they've said they're going to be part of the squad, that they turn up, to a reasonable level. Obviously, things happen, but that you will do your best effort to get to the training sessions and the competition sessions that the squad takes on, that you will behave in a way that, is respectful and all those kind of things. So just to make people aware of what we expect of people in that situation, based on the current levels of behaviour codes that we've got, that they're covered for insurance, that Croquet New South Wales will give them some money. So I have sent, I think, the club form and the coach form around to people for them to have a look at. I haven't sent the player forms at this stage, but if people would like to see one, I'm very happy to show it to them. So yeah, we're not saying we're going to promise we're going to make you a star. That's not part of the deal. That'll be up to you. So that's the main issues that I wanted to talk about in terms of, I guess it's a more formalised structure. And I'm hoping once people have been able to sign up to that agreement, that, you know, that will mean that it's for a year normally, and we can renew it for a further year. And that gives us an opportunity to review any of the conditions that we put in place, and to just fine-tune any details, and to make sure that people do sign on for a particular time and it's not like a drop-out scenario. So other people can participate in squads besides those that have been agreed to by the selectors and considered to be the appropriate person. So you may have more senior people attending your squad, and they may be more mentors or assistant coaches for the coach. That's absolutely fine. They would be eligible for the player reimbursements in that situation, but if they're a coach, they can get any coach reimbursements that are payable. So so they can be covered that way. So I want to make it that you've got a committed group of people, but the coach and the coordinator needs to have some flexibility around who participates, particularly, and depending on the size of your squad. Some squads will be smaller, and they will really benefit from having senior players attend as I say, mentors or coaches, or to give them good competition. So are there any more questions at this point about that overall framework?
Ron Johnstone here.
Yes, Ron?
Actually, I'd set up the squad anyway. I've already followed for the 3 years the squad's been going. Even started off by sending a letter to the 8 clubs within the Southern Metropolitan area, setting out to decide the squad and the members, and asked them, whether they consider they had any people with the potential to be members of the development squad. I then contacted those members that had the commitment to be in the squad. Initially, it was men with handicaps 4 and under, and women 5 and under.
Okay.
Because of some good up-and-coming players, I just extended that by another one or two in the handicap for people who've only been playing for, say, 2 years, but are showing great potential. So I've extended my handicap range of 4 for men and 5 for women, but only 1 or 2.
Yep.
So that's about. So it's been, I've got the message across that the whole purpose of being in the squad is to ultimately you become good enough to be able to represent or try out for the state team.
Yep.
So it's really based on what you're saying anyway, the format.
Yeah.
Getting it underway.
That sounds terrific, Ron. So I'll get you to just expand a little bit on what the squad's doing, but I've got one more question from Simon. Simon, please.
I just wanted to clarify whether or not that people who are not interested in being part of a state team are still welcome to be part of the development squad. Up north here, we've got a lot of people who quite like to get better and would take it seriously, but they have absolutely no intention of travelling to play in Sydney or elsewhere. And
I think that's a really good question, and it's probably something the selectors need to think about. I think that not everybody who goes into a development squad will end up in the state team. In fact, the
that's a given,
percentage
yeah.
may well be relatively low. And as you say, if you're a long from where most of those competitions are played, it may not be a realistic goal. And from my perspective, I wouldn't see that as a reason to exclude people. The only comment might be if you have a squad where somebody sees it as like a coaching, the chance to get some coaching, and that they're keeping other people from getting into that squad, that's when you might need to just have a think about it. Say, okay, you've had 4 years in the squad and it's been lovely to have you. What I'd like to do is to bring people on who are on that improvement track, and I'd love to invite you back, to assist and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit of a judgment for the coordinator, and perhaps in discussion with the selectors. I don't know if Peter Montague has any. Oh, sorry, Ros, did you want to say anything about that?
No, I was just saying, yes, as a selector, I think what you're saying is excellent. But Peter Montague, as our chair, will have more comments than that. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, Kate. Yes, I mean, our interest in the development squads certainly relates to selection of the state team. That's our main goal. But I think there's every possible advantage in improving the standard of play around the state through squads. That's to everybody's benefit. That's to everybody's enjoyment. I think we would always consider players for squads in a pretty open-minded way in discussion with the coordinators, and we're not seeking to control everything or determine entirely who can play and who can't. We have an interest, but we're not wanting to exclude people. Does that make sense?
That's really well said. I think that's really well said, Peter. And I think that the goal is to increase people's skills and enjoyment of the game. I mean, that's what we're here for. And if there is development happening in those areas geographically further away, that would be a good reason for us to consider how can we make a competition framework that might work better for a more dispersed group of talented players. So currently we have a pennants competition at the Division 1 level, and we have competitions, but they tend to be played further south. So I think if it opens some of those questions, Simon, I think that's a healthy thing. So we don't quite know where the journey might take us.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so Ron, do you want to perhaps continue? I'm really pleased. Ron and I didn't rehearse this, but the way you've described how you've gone about that process, is very much in alignment with what we're really currently putting in place. So do you want to talk a little bit further about how you actually run the squads? What do you have a formal training outline? What do you do, Ron?
Okay. From a coaching point of view, I haven't initiated any formal coaching. However, some players have asked me to watch them play with a view to mentoring them on any issues I thought they could improve. Earlier this year, a number of the members wanted me to give them a game just on singles to mentor them, go shot by shot, and I would question them why they were playing shots, etc. And also, most of our sessions I begin with asking the members whether any issues they have encountered while playing, in the last 6 months or 12 months that they would like to discuss before we start playing or at our morning tea break. We also play a mixture of singles and doubles so that all the players gain as much experience as they can by playing other players. As I said, I only play now if I've got an odd number present, but when I'm not playing, as I said, I just watch the others play, make comment on the tactics I've seen, or any issues with their swing, etc., just things like that. So it's just an overall mentor, but I have not initiated any sort of direct coaching at this stage.
Okay. So Ron, perhaps I might move to Terry and ask for his comments on how his squad's running, and then we'll see if we've got any other questions or comments that follow on from that. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Ron. That's really clear. Terry, let us know how Northern Sydney goes.
Sure, Kate. Well, I'm the coordinator or manager of the Northern Metropolitan GC Development Squad. So I want to make that clear. I'm not an accredited coach. I have been a kind of de facto coach in the sense that I lead the days. So there's always, oh no, not always. I shouldn't say that. There is sometimes we have I have brought in a guest coach on occasions to mix things up a bit. So it's not always me. So I've had Alison and Pete Landry and Rob Elliott in the last couple of years have each come along for a day, and that's been really good. But we don't. The squad doesn't have an assigned coach as such, and I see that would be one of the benefits of the proposed model. If we did have an assigned coach, and I could step back a bit from, attempting that to carry out that role. Our hosting club is Kalara, and as far as I know, it's always been Kalara. It's a fairly informal sort of relationship with the club. I booked the squad training days well in advance on non-playing day, non-social play days, and that seems to work all right. We have presently 18 squad members, which is quite a large number for only two lawns at Kalara. So we're possibly at about maximum capacity at the moment. What else? We meet, we have been meeting for a full day approximately every 2 months for the last, or since I've been the coordinator, since 2023. So about 5 per year. And what else? So I either have a guest coach, as I said, or else I have a focus for the day. So the last one that we had in September, the focus was, just as an example, that the focus was defence alternatives. That is alternatives to straight clearing. So we covered issues like setting up blocks, dealing with blocks, snuggles and stymies, and so there was a focus for the day, and then so we spent about an hour or so on that, and then we went out and played, and the idea being to put into practice the things that we discussed at the beginning of the day. That's about it, I suppose. Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. So that's interesting. You're meeting every 2 months, Terry, and for about a day.
Approximately, yes.
Yeah.
For a full day.
Ron, how often?
Yes.
For a full day. How often does your squad tend to meet, Ron?
It's monthly from January through to August, so that's 8.
Okay.
I haven't done it after that because you've got the Australian tournaments, and there's quite a number of tournaments, competitions on from like September, October, November. So I've got the 8 days, and it's, as I said, once a month, and it's usually on a Tuesday. I mean, Cooks River, it's not easy to get the Lords all the time, but I found Tuesday's about the best day that I'm likely to be able to book the Lords. So that's it. It'll be at least 8. And in that this year we'll also, as I said, we'll have 2 combined ones with the Northern Metropolitan area, also at Cooks River. So the players get to play a greater number of people as well.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. I'm not sure if people picked up that the Northern and the Southern Metropolitan squads have, I think this year you've had one, and you'll have a second joint session at Cooks River.
Oh yes,
where you can get
I forgot to mention that.
Play. Yeah.
We had our first one in May, and that was really successful, particularly for our members our players who, quite a few of whom had never been to Tempe, and they really appreciated that experience. And then we're having a second activity, joint activity in November, which will be the last activity for the year.
Yeah.
How long does long sessions?
Ron, how long are your sessions? Are they for a full day?
Yeah, well, it's 9 to 9:30. The reason why I don't start any earlier, because 5 of our members virtually come from the Southern Highlands area. Most of them are also members of Sydney clubs. So that's basically, it's 9 to 9:30, and it finishes. Well, because some people have got to travel, I don't mind what time they go home, but generally it's around 3 o'clock.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And people can stay there for as long as they want to.
Yeah.
Usually 9 to 9:30 through to about 3 o'clock or 3:30.
Yep. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that I've had a question about whether the approach is the same for AC and GC, and I think that's a really good discussion point. Gary Odell's raised that. I might just park that momentarily, Gary, and I'll just finish responding to these particular case studies that we're looking at. So Doug Corney, you've got your hand up.
Kate, probably to Terry or Ron, what are the expectations of the squad training sessions, and is it standardised? Well, probably more so to the selectors, I suppose. Are we trying to achieve a standard across each of the development squads?
To my knowledge, that's not been the case to date. But I assume that's one of the goals of this new program, but it hasn't, as far as I know, it hasn't been the case to date. No.
Right.
Okay, Ron, I'll have your response.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's two levels. It's for people to get exposure and playing other people who are as good or better than them, to improve their game, with the ultimate aim of being able to be selected to play in the state team. That is the
state team squad,
or rather the state team squad, and then ultimately the state team. So that is the ultimate, the whole ultimate goal of it all, is to work your way up the ladder if you're good enough. And that's why when I said before, when I got a list of players, I rang them all up, list of players from other clubs, just to determine exactly what their commitment was. And at that stage, given that I was covering at least eight croquet clubs, to me the people have to be fairly committed at that stage to be in the development squad. Else I'd end up with 30 or 40 people in the squad, which become unmanageable.
Yeah. I think that's.
May I just make a comment?
Yes, Ross.
As well as the up and coming players, Ron also has in the squad the likes of Jill Sullivan. She still comes along because of continually getting that higher experience.
Mhm.
And this year, Gareth Denyer, who is in the squad, was selected for the state team. A couple of others, and I just can't think who they are, were also selected for the state team squad, but they still come to the regional squad as well.
Yep, okay. Just in terms of comment, Doug, to your question, it is one of the topics on the agenda. How formalised coaching content do we want? And I've heard some people who would like to run a squad a more laid out structure, a plan for this is what we're going to work through over the year with the squads. Whereas I think other people will more respond to the players that they've got in that group and work with them to improve their competition level. But I think you're right, Doug, it's one of the critical questions. And I think different coaches will approach it differently. So I'm reluctant to become too prescriptive about these squads, particularly at this early stage. But I also realise that it assists people to step up if they know they've got a framework that they can work on to say, well, this week we're going to be working on, hoop running drills, or we're going to be working on particular ways of, defending your position. I think one that we're not very good at is the mental approach to competition. And that would be an area where I think it would be useful for us to either call in some outside assistance or to have some joint sessions. So we might have a combination of some online input, and then each of the squads can then that content and think about how they're implementing it. So there's a whole range in that ballpark. Some of it's around preparing for competition, making sure that you're in the best position, and others are about how do you manage your mental state, how do you control stress, which can get into some quite interesting psychological territory. So I think that's an area that we in croquet we're just babies in the woods in that area, but it's a huge field in sport, as you know. And because most of our competitions are individuals, then that kind of training is very useful because you don't have the team there with you. It's really on your shoulders. So it might be that we put together a combination of coaching input that the local coach is most useful for that group, as well as some broad topics that we think are really useful to cover. But I honestly don't have all the answers on this, and I'm really interested in people's input to it.
Yeah, I agree. And certainly with the mental approach, it's somebody who's very good at describing it in such a way that people understand. Be good at that person could go around to the different groups. As far as the actual coaching, I'm a level 3 coach now. I am not playing like even a Division 1 player at the moment. So I coach or I mentor when people ask me, but I don't deliberately go out and try and coach people. If they ask me, I'll then give them some mentoring or coaching. Instead of coaching tactics and scenarios and things like that. But most of the people are fairly experienced anyway who are coming along with these. But I'm always prepared to coach them if I get asked.
Yeah.
I have a page on coaching page, which is before you get on the lawn.
Yeah.
And it's so it's not a mental or stress as much, but it's avoid stress by. And things that I mention are, being focused on what you're going to do before you get onto the lawn. Make sure you've had plenty of liquid, and you will continue to do so. Don't be late, because that will you will be stressed when you arrive. And there's probably about 12 or so of those, but that's the kind of the thing I also talk about when I'm coaching, and I also am a level 3 coach.
Yeah. Thanks, Ros. Ray, are you having trouble hearing the session? Is that what you're saying? You can hear okay? Okay. Brenda Lee, you've got your hand up.
Can't hear.
She's just turning off her mic, hopefully. If you press
there we go.
the mic.
Got it.
There you are. We've got you.
Yeah. I just wanted to, well, I think it's great that they're bringing other people in, because as you know, a couple of years ago, I wanted to just go and watch the state team, but I was unable to because they weren't allowing people to watch. So that's great. And what I changed about myself this year is I actually went and got myself a sports psychologist. Because so when I was invited onto the squad, I knew I had to get better. So I got a sports psychologist, physio, all sorts of things just to make me better. So that's it's been helpful.
Yeah. No, I think that's really useful, Brenda. And I think it's, as I say, it's an area we need to explore more.
I wondered why Brenda Lee game was getting so much better.
There you go.
There you go. Sports psychologists and lots of practice.
So there's a couple of other questions just on the chat line. Gary's asked whether we've got data about the improvement of participants. I think Terry and Ron have both kept a record of competitions. Is that correct, or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, I used to send them to the results to the selection committee, and then Peter at some stage this year said he wasn't all that interested for whatever reason in still getting those results, but it's no trouble actually recording them anyway each month that we have a session, and I can pass them back onto the selection committee.
I think that one of the values of us perhaps documenting who's in squads and what their handicap is that we will actually have a benchmark from this point about where the squads were at this time, and then we can compare it with where the squads are in a year's time. And I don't want to do it as a way of pressuring people in the squads. It's really just simply to see how it's one of the measures of success, I think, of how people are going. And sometimes it can be quite long term. So you may not see an improvement for 2 years on some occasions. Other times you see it in 6 months. So it's but I think it is helpful for us to do that. So it's probably something where we might be asking the squad managers to just give us a bit of an update on how the squads are going, say every 6 months, just so we've got a sense of, how successful is it? How many people have you still got, et cetera, et cetera. So, no one likes paperwork, but it can be really helpful for us and for other squads that we're trying to set up.
I'm not the issue in recording their scores. I haven't really got up from the people from the Southern Metropolitan area, but I have heard that some people don't like scores having them record because it puts them off trying to try other tactics. Because it's like a trial and error sort of thing. So they prefer if they didn't have to record their scores. So it's a two-edged sword in a way.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ron. And it might be something where you might record scores on occasion, but other times deliberately not do it if you do want people. I know we have an exercise where we say, if this is aggressive croquet, you've got to go for that. If you're in front of the hoop, you've got to go for it. So you don't want people to be then constrained. So yeah, I think it's got to be horses for courses in that situation. Yeah. Penny Patterson's got her hand up. Penny.
Just one query. Would Croquet New South Wales ever think about putting a seminar on biosports psychologists? I know there'd be quite a few people at Mossman that would something like this would definitely be there.
Yep,
and
we definitely would.
We've actually talked about trying to get a grant to do it.
Okay.
But, we used the grant for something else.
Now, with you, do you want to talk about that? Well, I'll just say in Canberra, Rob has introduced us to a sports psychologist, Gareth Mole, who's a professional, and he ran 4 sessions for our club members, and they were quite helpful. As Brenda says, sometimes people will need to have one-on-one sessions because it's a long journey. Like a lot of those things where we need to change behaviour and habits, and what we do, it doesn't happen quickly. But having said that, I think Croquet New South Wales, certainly in my coaching budget, I'd be very happy to bring in a psychologist, and it was one of the topics I had on my list of seminars, so I've put some of them forward to next year. So I'm very open to people who do know of people who would be useful. I think Gareth Mole would be someone to consider. The other side of it is there are some useful tips, broad tips from people who've played croquet in that area. I know Peter Freer has gathered together some useful information over the years. So I think there's a couple of ways we can play this, and some of it might be more of a sharing information and discussion, and another might be bringing in an expert who will run a program for over a period of time. Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion, Penny. Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I just, if I can just add on something on that, I think, if we can bring in a sports psychologist to talk to groups as a whole, and then it could be up to the individual player if they want one-on-one discussions with a sports psychologist.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, Ron. Sometimes you might want to take them on at your club or for your squad, because one of the things we found was that it's partly about building some group dynamics with the people participating in the program and sharing your experiences and being a bit vulnerable. So it doesn't always work with a really big seminar. So I think, as I say, it's there's a whole range of ways to deal with that topic, and we can certainly introduce people to some good practitioners, and then they may want to follow up through their club, through their squad, or personally. Yeah.
Sorry. Could I just?
Peter Freer is talking. Yeah.
Could I? You can leave for. Can I just reprise? If you do want to put results of trial games and things on croquet scores, as long as you put in brackets after the name of the thing, not for world rankings, then I won't put it in. Because I think that's been a bit of a barrier sometimes, that you want to use croquet scores because it's a very convenient way of recording game results, but you don't want it, players don't want to have it put into world rankings. As long as you've got a brackets after it saying not for world rankings, then I can respect that.
Okay, thanks for Mr. World Rankings. Yes, Terry.
Oh, well, I just wanted to add that Mendel approach is something that Alison stresses, in my experience, very considerably. So we do have Alison,
Yes.
who does take a strong approach towards mental or
Yes.
psychological aspects of the game.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Terry. Okay, so thank you so much, Ron and Terry, for that input. That was really helpful. I'm wondering, Peter Montague, if there's anything that you wanted to add in terms of how the selectors their approach to bringing people into squads is, and anything just from a broad perspective at this point in time.
Okay, Kate. I think a lot of what I would say has been implicit in what you've already discussed, but I'll just go through it very briefly. Obviously, the prime purpose of the selection committee is for us to field the strongest available New South Wales team for the Interstate Shield each year. The three goals which contribute to us achieving that purpose, one is to identify and encourage and train talented players who have the potential to play for the state. We'd like to draw on talent from the whole extent of the New South Wales and ACT. And we want to encourage strong players to engage in high quality competitive play throughout the year, whether that's through formal competitions or through the squads themselves. And just as an aside on that, the early days of our Northern Metropolitan squad, we really focused almost entirely on straight competition. We just drew up a block on each occasion, tried to get everybody playing against everybody else as hard as they could. And we used to collect the data from those results and transmit them to the selection committee. Subsequently, for some of the reasons that people have given, we've really gone away from that. Firstly, it gives you so much data, it's hard to make use of it. Secondly, some players would rather not have those results communicated. And thirdly, probably the most important thing, it does inhibit you from experimenting and trying out new strategies and so forth. So we've really rather gone away from that aspect. But we do want to encourage people to enter competitions, state competitions and so forth, so we can really see how they perform under pressure and against strong competition. Anyway, the three things that I outlined there that help us to choose a team, we could see the regional development squads as really being very powerful in enabling those goals to be achieved. So firstly, we think the selection committee should work cooperatively with the regional squads to ensure that strong players and potentially strong players are included. And we would do that not by determining ourselves who should be part of a squad or not, but working with the local squad managers, discussing who they see, how they're coming along, what their potential might be. So really not prescriptive, but trying to learn from the local knowledge. We want to measure the players' progress, and we probably do that more by discussion with the squad coordinators rather than, as we've said, by collecting data from competition. And overall, we see the development squads providing a clear pathway from the regional squad to the state team squad, which is selected at the end of each year. And the state team squad is, of course, the group from which we expect the state team to be selected. Is there anything I need to add to that? Is that at all helpful?
That was really good and clear, Peter. Thank you. Is there any comments, questions from others? And I think as I say, we don't have the AC selectors there, so that I think the AC squad development is probably going to require some more intensive encouragement, as well as it's a longer process to build people in the area of AC. But one of the areas that we probably will be thinking about is golf croquet players. So you shut your eyes, shut your ears, golf croquet selectors, encouraging golf croquet players who may be interested in taking up association croquet. So I think there's going to be just a few more thoughts about that. But at the moment, I guess AC development squads in the first instance, but we'll see how we go. We might be surprised. Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I was just a question to Peter, just to clear my mind. For new development squads, do they send Peter a list of people who are interested, and then Peter says yes, no, whatever? Is that the process, or is it whoever puts their hand up to come to the squad will play in the squad?
I would say, Ray, at this stage we haven't got a process. We need to develop one.
Okay.
In the past, we've had no say in who was in a development squad, nor have we sought any control over that. So we'll see how it develops. But as I've said, I see it as being a cooperative process and a learning process from both directions, and not a prescription by the selection committee.
Yeah, right.
So at this stage,
so if the people are keen and they want to come, the publish will come, basically, I suppose.
I think,
yeah.
Provided the space, yes.
Well, assuming they're not on handicaps of 14 or that, but yeah, certainly people who would be keen would be people who have that ambition to to get to the state squad or play in competitions, and they'll probably they might be very uncomfortable. Might be right at the moment, but they certainly with some work can get to a stage where they feel a lot confident.
I would hate to think we were doing anything to block progress by people who have some way still to go.
So the only thing I'd say, Ray, is that we currently have asked the people running the squads to, if they have a list of people, and the existing squads do, so the selectors have the list of people either in the squad or, in the case of the Northern Rivers, those anticipated to be eligible for the squad. And so, as Peter says, the selectors then will work out how that process goes, and it sounds like it's going to be an iterative process with the coach or the manager. What I would say is that we do need to be aware of not making the squads become so large and with such a diverse range of people that they are difficult to actually hone. So that can happen sometimes, that keen people who want to be part of a squad, and everybody wants coaching. I haven't met anybody who doesn't want to be coached. So as soon as there are coaching sessions, people will say, well, I want to be part of that. So that's why we said that it is formally the selectors who are the ones who will say, yes, that's an appropriate group for the squad. But without being arbitrary, they will need to make a line. And so I guess what I would say is, for those clubs where you have some keen, say, Division 3 players who want to get better, that's where the clubs will need to underpin what the development squads are doing. So you may want to form your own club group, which is what we do in Canberra, and find some coaching that's appropriate for people at that level. So people who are 10, 11, 12, I don't envisage being in these squads, no matter how keen they are, unless potentially they're under 21s, and then all bets are off because there's so few of them at the moment. But it isn't my call. So, I'll say that saying it's actually the selector's call, but we do need to make these squads workable. And we also encourage the clubs to find a way to feed club members into that pathway. It's not all up to the development squads. The clubs will be part of the pathway. Okay. So we're just about at 6 o'clock, and we've pretty much gone through my agenda. We have talked a bit about how much people want some specific content, and I think you've heard from the existing squads that isn't the case with those current squads. I think it's going to be we're going to be working. It's a work in progress. We're going to be developing and refining it as we go along. I'm very happy to provide some frameworks and to maybe, once we know who all the squad managers are, that we can start to be quite specific, get that group of people together, talk about what are the things that perhaps need to be covered, where can Croaky New South Wales input with some content, where, how can we help with our senior coaches and the state coaches like Alison and Rosie are the state coaches. How can we help by perhaps state coach and to identify those areas and to get them to focus on some areas that you haven't been able to cover as well as you'd like. So I think to me that's still open, how much structure you want. But I haven't really got the capacity to write a coaching program for you, I'm sorry. So it will have to be something we develop together, and we find if we do want a coaching program, we need to find how will we make that happen. We might need to bring someone on board. We might need to pay somebody to come in and do it, because there's a lot of good people around. So there's more than one way to skin a cat here, and I don't want the coaches to feel unsupported. So we need to find ways to support you. The other thing I'd say is if you would like to form a squad and you haven't, had any other input because the letters are going to the clubs, then I'm happy to talk to you. If you're a coach or perhaps you're a senior player, then have a chat and we'll find out if there's other likely options in your area, or if you're the best one to take it on. That would be great. So the only other thing I was going to say is just a reminder, there's a master coaching class being held in Canberra on Sunday, November the 9th. I know Doug's going to that one already. We have two English coaches, Ian Shaw and Roy Tillich, who Ian Shaw runs a coaching academy in Cheltenham in England, and Roy Tillich is a very renowned referee and coach. They were the dudes who came up with Advantage Croquet, so you can come and give them a pat or not. Going to be 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock. He's talking specifically about coaching advanced players. So it's exactly where we're at for this group. We will be videoing it. So if you're not able to get there, then there will be a video, but there are places open. So if anybody's interested in coming to Canberra, checking out the beautiful exhibition at the National Gallery, some of the hotspots in Kingston, and coming to a masterclass on November the 9th, please let me know. The other reminder is we've got 2 more coaching seminars coming up. The player-centered coaching, which John Park is running on the 27th of October. I know some of you have already signed up for it. John has used this in Gateball, and it's applicable across the board. There'll be a little questionnaire beforehand to fill in to help him tailor the session to the participants. I think that will be really worthwhile. And the session after that on the 13th of November is about player pathways, and we'll have the pathways guru from the Office of Sport, Anita Weisenhauser, I think, attending. I'll be trying to put together a bit of a mock-up of a pathway that will apply for croquet, but it's a good way of informing you about how the pathway works across the sports and to kind of have a look at how we can apply that model for croquet so that coaching is not simply something you get when you join and maybe if you're lucky enough, if you get into a squad somewhere along the line, we want it to be a part of everybody's journey through the sport. The other thing to say, the New South Wales Office of Sport on Monday, October the 27th, which is the same day as the player-centred coaching, at 6 p.m, has a session on online resources for coaches of pathway athletes. So there's a whole lot of material out there, and there's a whole sector of the New South Wales Office of Sport that does deal with the psychology of competition and sport. So that could be a place to start with a seminar. The person who runs that unit is apparently very good. But anyway, that session is on, and I'll put a notice on the newsletter and a link for you guys at this session if you're interested. Someone's got a hand up. David Scott's got a hand up. David.
Kate, just wondering, could you confirm the process? The coach agreement is signed and submitted. The club agreement is signed and submitted. When can the squad commence?
So once the selectors have kind of said, look, this looks good, or had a chat with you about it, then I'm happy. Technically, yes, you're right. I would like the players to have signed an agreement before you commence, but I'm not going to be too bureaucratic about that. As long as you feel that, you've got the group that understand what they need to do. But I will be wanting the coordinator to make sure we've got our player agreements, and Jackie Gaskell will make sure we've stored all those agreements. And so once the selectors have said, yes, this squad looks good and the people that you have in it are going to be suitable, then from my sense, I think you can start. And then we need to make sure probably the paperwork's done within a month of that. Okay. I don't want to stop you guys. Okay?
Thank you. Will Jackie send the player invitations out? Or will that be the
yes, we will.
coach?
Once we know who the people are, we can send them out, but we'll copy you in so that you know. Yeah, and some people might want to just copy them out and write in them, but hopefully they will have online interactivity, so you should be able to fill them out online, email them straight back.
Thank you.
Terry.
Well, Kate, could I just ask how you see it working for the existing squads? What your expectations are of Ron and myself, for example?
So I wouldn't want you and Ron to stop doing what you're doing. I think you've got a session coming up in November. I'm hopeful that the selectors will be able to say, this is all good. So I would be still wanting the paperwork to be done, but I wouldn't want you guys to hold off on anything that you're currently doing, if that's okay. And
the paperwork means. So the paperwork means each member to sign the player agreement, and also the club to sign the club agreement. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And the coach or manager also would sign an agreement. So
right. Well, we don't presently have a coach, as I said.
So
we're going to get one, are we? Are we going to get a coach?
No, that's not part of what we've agreed to. Part of being a squad is that there will be a manager / coach provided for that particular squad. And if you want some additional resources, then we need to chat about how you can find that, but you probably know that as well as me. All it means is that the coach will formally be reimbursed for any costs that they incur. But if you're struggling if you would like more coaching input, then we probably need to just have a chat about who might be appropriate.
Well, I would like to do that because, as I said, I'm not a coach.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
So
more the
sometimes-
coordinator manager, if you like.
Yep. Yep. And so I think one of the models would be that you have a range of coaches that you might bring in, which is what you've been doing by the sound of it. So you don't need to have one coach if that's not possible. So I think I think this.
Sorry.
Go on. You go.
Oh, well, I got the impression from reading your information that you intend that each squad will have a coach.
That's what we'd ideally like. So in order to form a squad, it's best if you have a coach that is prepared to take on that role. And if not one coach, perhaps several.
Okay. Well, we just need to give that some thought.
Tell me when you're ready for me.
Yep. Ros.
Yep. As far as the club's concerned, what do you need from them in an agreement? Because what we've been doing, or what Ron's really been doing, but I do the computer work, is, and we've just had a message from from our one that keeps the club running, the timing of the players running. What dates do we want? So all we've been doing in the past is Ron will work out the dates that he wants.
Yep.
And I'll just ask him to mark them off in the program.
So I guess the club agreement says that they will provide access to their lawns. So what I've currently put in is that I estimated it would be around half a day per month, and the number of lawns used should be commensurate with the number of players attending. So if you've got 8 players, you shouldn't need 4 lawns, for instance.
No,
so it's just so that the club's clear on what is appropriate to build Croquet New South Wales.
Yeah. Well, as far as Ron is concerned, he said to you it's 9 to 9:30 till about 3:30. That's a bit more than a half a day.
So what I had down was around half a day a month. It sounds like you guys are doing a day sort of every month and a half. So I think that's fine.
Every month.
Well, he said eight times a year. Yeah.
We don't even have a day and a half or something.
Yeah. So I think we can be flexible with that. What I wasn't, if every club said we're running a weekly session using 4 lawns for a full day, then we can't afford it. So I guess I just need to calibrate so that what we're offering to pay for is going to be affordable and sustainable. So if it's going to be a full day a month, that's not going to break the bank. Ros, yeah. So I'm happy if you push that a bit, but it does need to be, the club needs to understand that they can't simply book up every lawn, for whenever they feel like it.
From my perspective, there is a bit of a pushback about the amount of GC that is being played at our club.
Right.
So what I'm interested in, we've had no problems before. I don't expect any problems. When Ron gives me the dates that he wants, and I send them off to Candy. But I don't want, say, a half a day said when then someone says, well, you're only being asked for a half a day, so that's all you're going to get.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I'll make sure that there's some flexibility around that, Ros.
Right,
yeah, no, I don't want to stop you guys doing what is a pretty reasonable program. Okay, So I have sent those agreements, I think, with the invitation. Do people get those? The club and the coach agreement? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm happy to send the player agreement. I think Simon's asked for that. And I will, let's chat further, Terry, about coaching and how and what's feasible there. You probably know more about coaches in Sydney than me. Yes, Terry.
Well, I just have one further question. So do
Yeah.
I now wait until, I mean, I've submitted to you the names of the current squad members, but do
Yep.
I wait until are they going to be considered by the selection committee and approved? So do I wait until I get that approval before I approach the members?
Can I just jump in?
I think, yes, Peter, please.
Hello?
Thank you.
I don't see any obstacle just getting on and doing that in the next couple of days.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope they're going to try and turn it around pretty quickly, Terry, because we don't want you guys to stop being a squad just for the paperwork. So you carry on doing what you're doing, and once I've got the okay from the selectors, then I'll be able to send all those agreements out, and the players should be able to sign them and send them back.
Right.
And we'll confirm that with you. Okay.
And the other,
so we'll have a
thing-
record. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was
Who
just
was
going
that?
to say,
Yes,
Terry
Peter.
Terry and I can perhaps have a discussion about the coaching issue and see if we can sort that out, because the model that Terry's running at the moment, I think, works very well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to get involved if it's useful.
Okay. Thanks.
Denise, you've got your hand up. Yes, Denise. You just need to take your mic off, my dear, or turn it on.
There we are. I would think that as far as any of the squads putting in a claim, that it wouldn't be paid until such time as all the paperwork was in and done. Would that be right?
So the board has approved this model from July. So the question will be, with those squads that are already going, and it sounds like there hasn't been a lot happening since July, whether that's the date that all the paperwork's in. So perhaps Denise just might need to confirm that for me. I would have thought we would go. Yeah, I would have thought we'd go from the date of the agreement.
Yes.
But we're not going to backdate over the 2 years, for instance, that Terry's been running that squad. That's not going to happen. But July is when the board said, yes, this is the way we'll go. So you can backdate to July, I would have thought, but anyway, perhaps we can confirm that, Denise.
I think that's
have a chat with.
I think that's a good idea.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah. I think it needs to be clarified. I would need it clarified, yes.
Okay. I don't think it'll make a lot of difference, but it is good to be clear about when it all starts. Yep. All right. It's 6:20, and so I think we might end the session unless anyone has some more burning issues.
Just one quick one.
Yes, Ron.
Have you seen any paperwork out yet? Because I haven't received any. That's all I'm saying.
No, I haven't, because I'm waiting for the selectors to say, yep, looks good, and then we'll send the paperwork after that. Okay. I know it's silly. I should. It's silly, but I just want to make sure we're not preempting. And I want to be clear that it is the selectors who are deciding that. It's not my decision, and it's not, in the end, the coach is not the one who takes that final responsibility. And so it's a way, if somebody says, oh, I really want to join this squad, it's a way of you saying, I really appreciate that you really want to improve your croquet. I need to talk to the selectors about the squad. So can I get back to you? So I just want, it just means that it's slightly removed from you. And it may be a way of saying, look, maybe the squad might be a thing for you in a year's time. Why don't you go there, get some coaching at your club, enter these competitions, and, you know, the way you're playing, you could well be in a good position then. So we just got to find ways that we can, we don't have to take everybody, but obviously you want to be in, you know, you want to get people, you don't want to turn them away if they are appropriate person.
Could I ask Peter Montague a question, please, Kate?
Is Peter Montague? Yes, he's still there.
Yeah, Peter, Ros, just wondering, as selectors, how you propose to have the selectors discuss the squads.
Well, I think fairly straightforward. We would circulate the list of proposed people. Would ask each of the selectors to consider that list, and also perhaps note if there are any other names they think might be considered for the list. Then we'll communicate by email or by a Zoom meeting and sort it out as quickly as we can.
Yep, that sounds excellent. I think we could possibly do it by email, but it's up to you what you choose.
Yeah, I think email is easy if there's no big issues that have to be discussed in detail.
Agreed.
Okay, so the ball's going to be rolling really quickly. All right, if there's no more questions, we might call the session to a close. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Please get in touch with me if you would like to follow up any of the things that have happened tonight. The recording will be available, probably take a week or something for that to happen. So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Happy croquet playing. All right.
Well, thank you, Kate. Thanks, Kate, for all your work on this.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Stop. Thanks very much, you two. I don't know whether I'm just working out if I've closed down the recording. I'll just leave.